Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Tiffany, a retired librarian turned homeschool mom. And in this video we're going to be talking about a book that I'm going to show you on my tablet here because I have it in e-copy because I borrowed it from my library. Not something I typically do with picture books, but it worked out. So this is Funny Bones, Posada and His Day of the Dead, Calaveras. So that is the title of the book, so you can kind of see this. This is the story, and the author is Duncan, and I'm going to butcher this last name. Tonatiuh. Yeah, this is badly pronounced. I am not Hispanic. I do not speak Spanish. My husband does a little bit, but again, I do not. So I'm going to butcher this. So this is the story. This is a beautifully done book. Tablet can show some of the pictures here. Beautifully done illustrations. It's the first time I've actually downloaded a children's picture book online. So it's a story of a man by the name of skeletons. Jose Guadalupe Posada, who was basically, he was called Lupe. That was what he was known as in his lifetime. And you can see some of the pictures here. He was very intelligent, and he became a printer. He went to the apprentice working with the printing press. And he was a very good artist. So that's how he got into this. One of his brothers trained to be a teacher and realized how good his illustrations were. So he sent him to be apprenticed with a printer. And so he worked in the printing shops, doing illustrations and drawings for pamphlets and things. So, and this book, what's really kind of great about it, flip around, is it shows the printing press process, and has quite a few, and explains basically it's like you draw on a piece of wood or a metal plate, and then you get a cutting tool, and then you put it in the printing press and you put ink on it. And this kind of goes throughout his career, and this is the first he did political cartoons, and that's how he kind of got started, because they were mad at the government. Then the revolution happened, and it kind of goes into that, and he leaves town and he opens his own print shop, has a kid of his own. And then, yeah, flood destroyed that. They went to a different town. They went to Mexico City. He did more illustrations. He created a lot of skulls. And this is kind of the Day of the Dead stuff. He started working together, and he worked with a man by the name of Don Arturo. And they worked together for more than 20 years. Especially they created skulls for November 1st and 2nd, or the Dia de los Muertos celebrations, because that's what he did. He was very, very good at doing skulls. So you can see the Calaveras here. I think these are pictures of some of the sugar skulls. So you see some of the illustrations, which are done really well. Hopefully I have a physical copy one of these days. And again, various different Calaveras. It goes through his life and how he does a lot of different skulls, or how he represents his art. So he did political stuff, he did representations of different events that went on, love, and then it does go into, again, how into etching, which is a different printing press form. So that's something new. So it was quicker than what he was doing before. So it shows little pictures of how they did that. And then you have the different images where you have this is what it looked like, and then this is what it would look at printed. So it goes through this, and then talks about the Day of the Dead, different etchings, and you have a lot of art, and then basically the change of life and how things changed. And then you had the revolution. It talks about this. It has some of his art here. A lot of people died. And then it talks about politics a little bit, and just the things changing and how it went through his life and what he became known as. He died on January 20th, 1913. So, and he became known as basically how he signed it, Posada, which again, I'm butchering this. So, and that's because he was originally called Don Lupa, or Lupe. That's what he was called during his lifetime. Now he's called, basically, his art is Posada, which was how he signed his work. That was his last name, which would have been, if I remember my Spanish a little bit, his mother's family name is what that would have been. So, and it talks about his life and there's quite a few illustrations, and these are more modern illustrations. And then there's an author's note that talks about, you have a couple pages here about the Day of the Dead, and then a glossary of different terminology. So this is beautifully done. I would love to, and eventually probably it's on my child's book list, Amazon list, to get a physical copy at some point. But the e-copy is actually pretty good. I'm very, very surprised about the illustrations. This is the first time I've actually looked at one of these books. Normally, just when it comes to little kids' books, I prefer physical books just because it's better for the kids. But this is done very, very well. It's a nonfiction book. Not so much part about the Day of the Dead. There's a lot of Day of the Dead here, but it's very much about this artist who started out working with printing presses and died kind of in the middle of the, died, what was it? Where's my date here? He died in, let's see, 1913, so right after the Titanic sank, oddly enough. So this is the turn of the century. So that's when he died. He's very well known. He's a famous artist these days for his Calaveras printings, because that was his art. He worked with the printing press. This book also does a lot of good explanations on how printing presses worked and how you did illustrations via printing press. A lot of stuff focuses more on the words. This focuses on how they did the etchings and the illustrations that you found in pamphlets and newspapers back then. So, and it does a very good job of it. The illustrations, as you saw, are very well done. They're creative, they're colorful. This is a very kid-friendly book. I would definitely buy this for a younger kid. If you're doing a unit on Hispanic culture, if you're doing specifically on Hispanic art, this specific artist, on the printing press, it's a good book to do stuff on that, as well as, again, the Day of the Dead, and talking about those Calaveras. And he's very, very well known for this. He's one of the people who made these skulls very famous and very connected to this life celebration. Probably the best way I can describe Dia de los Muertos, and I will cover it possibly more next October. It's a wonderful holiday. It's one of those days. I read in another book by an author that I probably will not cover here because she talks about death a lot. When she talks about this, a woman who lost a child, and says this holiday is a part of her culture and allows her to celebrate life rather than mourning the death. And it allows you to remember without people, as is common in the United States, like, yes, somebody died, let's move on. And you don't get a chance to properly mourn or celebrate people's lives as much. And this is a remembrance holiday, which is one of the reasons I enjoy it, because it's sad that we push death away so much, in my opinion. And this holiday celebrates it. This book is a great representation of it. I would love to see some of his art in person at some point. His printing press. This is a good way to introduce it to kids, particularly if you're looking at Hispanic history. It's very well done. I believe the author, let me pull this back. The author is well known. Let's see if I have any information. It does have an index where you can see his art, so it gives a couple of different museums. Has an index. Let's see if it tells me anything about. He has a couple more books. Looks like he's basically well known. I'll have to look at those. So, but that is a story that I'm assuming the author is Hispanic because of how well this is done. And he's very familiar with this artist. So this is a great book to read to younger kids. If you're doing a unit on art and printing, as well as the Day of the Dead, Hispanic history. So illustrations are done beautifully, as I showed you. The ebook is actually very, very well done. Again, I borrowed this at my library instead of buying it. It is on my list to purchase at some point, particularly now that I've actually read it, because I would love to share these illustrations with my child. And physical books it's better for kids. So, but again, it works well in ebook form, as if you want to borrow it from a public library, and that's the only option you got. So, again, this is a wonderful book to do the Day of the Dead or Hispanic history. And I'm repeating myself here. My child does not sleep well. My brain doesn't always work. But that is it for this review. I'm doing a bunch of other Halloween stuff. I'm covering some of the more darker classics. This is actually very, very light, even though it's fictional. The illustrations are beautiful. I do a little bit lighter book reviews. I'm doing a bunch of film reviews in October. I'm finishing up Harry Potter that started back in September, so you can check out those reviews. I have various other children's book reviews, some secular homeschooling videos. Come November, I'm talking about some Native American stuff, covering a little bit of a few online databases or museum stuff, as well as some Native American children's books. And then December is all fun. I'm doing fun, secular, non-religious Christmas stories and some just kind of fun Christmas movies throughout December. So if you want to check those out when those come out, check out the rest of my Halloween stuff. Some of it's fun, some of it's dark, some of it's Dracula, which is actually very good. So, and that's the book, not the film. I'm not going there. So check out if you want to see more of my stuff, like and subscribe, but that is it. Thank you.